Right, so the numbers are up a little bit again, 114 new cases. But again, the Edmonton numbers are pretty much steady. I think they're actually down by one. It's Calgary that's gone way up. Again, the central zone and the south zone to a degree. So again, it is concentrated areas that are being affected, and the the amount of tests that have been done has gone up by a lot. And actually, it looks like they updated the amount of total tests being done and the amount of people actually tested. So again, there's about 100,000 people that have been tested more than once. Maybe some people three times, I don't know, but 614,000 tests, 520,000 people tested. So there's been quite a few that have been tested more than once. But again, that's not a huge deal. But the main point being is that the numbers they're pretty much the same. They're going up in areas, but they're also not going up in areas. And I do think that things will get under control. They can't keep going up. So again, things will get under control. As far as the rest of Canada goes, the numbers in Ontario were down a little bit yesterday. They actually had a pretty low day, but the past few days they actually had a couple high days. So balanced out, they're pretty normal for the last month or so. Quebec, the numbers have been up a hair. BC, the numbers are up a little bit as well, but the rest of Canada, I think, is doing pretty good. I mean, you see things on the news, and there's like one case out of Manitoba, or one case in Nova Scotia, and I think that's pretty good if you're literally having like one case a day. So the rest of Canada is doing pretty good. The numbers out of the states pretty much the exact same as the day before. A little over over 60,000 cases, just over 1,000 deaths. So again, it's pretty much the same out of the states for the last week or so. It's pretty much the same. So that is the numbers. Again, the thing I wanted to hit on again is a little bit more about the whole mask thing, and not as much the physical mask thing. Again, this is from Rogan O'Hanley on Twitter, and he says, "You're not brave for wearing a mask, kneeling to a mob, and sticking out your arm for a Bill Gates vaccine. You're a compliant sheep." And that's the problem, is that most of these people, they can't point towards any scientific evidence to back up the fact that a mask works, for the simple reason that, number one, there isn't a lot of evidence. Most of it is anecdotal, and the other problem too is that most people don't use masks properly. That's the big thing too that I pointed out to people, and they're like, "Oh well, this area, oh, they're wearing masks," and especially with kids too in school. That's the one thing I constantly hear about these parents. Oh, I'm fine with sending my kid back as long as they're wearing masks. The problem is that people aren't going to use them properly. Like 80 to 90% of people who are wearing masks are touching their face at some point, and when you're doing that, it is rendering them completely useless. So again, that is the big thing with the whole mask, is that you can't touch your face. um, and that's one of the many problems with it too. And the other thing too is that a lot of these homemade masks, the cloth masks that the majority of people are wearing, at least from what I've seen, uh, there's no evidence to back those up. The medical grade ones, I believe there is some evidence, but again, the problem too is that that's assuming you're not touching your face. That's assuming you're not reusing them. Again, most people are reusing masks. And the other, like I say, the thing too is that even if you're not reusing them, you can't be touching your face. You have to, there's proper ways to even put them on, because again, if you touch the physical mask while you're putting them on, again, you're also rendering it partially useless. So again, there's so many things that go into properly using them that people think, oh, I'm wearing a mask, therefore it's fine. But again, most people aren't using them properly, so it's completely pointless. And there is negative ramifications to wearing masks. It will downregulate your immune system. There's no debate on that. And there's also no science backing up healthy people wearing masks. The only science that I'm aware of that exists that backs up mask wearing, and it's what I've been saying all along, is that people who are sick, or people who are like in the healthcare industry or dealing with sick people, should wear masks, but only when they're dealing with them, not when you're out at Walmart or something. It makes no sense. So again, this is from CanGal48 on Twitter, and she says, Someone explained to me, if masks work, why do you have to social distance? And if social distancing works, why do you need to wear a mask? Again, it's all BS. That's why. And that's the problem, too, is that we're at the point to where I don't think that the government can sell people on any of the lies that they've sold people up to this point. So now they're retreating to the whole, we're going to force people to wear masks. And the problem with that is it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I think most people just don't believe the hype anymore. Like I told about the whole Rachel Notley post, and that the fact that most of her audience, or at least most of the people that responded to the poll, disagreed. That's a leftist, well, pretty far left politician. So the reality is that most of the public isn't falling for this garbage anymore. And the other thing too is a lot of people aren't going to be open about it. Like most people I know, in talking to people, they're not super outspoken about their opinions, but they know that it's largely BS. Like, it's largely BS. Again, there's no scientific evidence that backs up the idea of social distancing. It was originally thought up by a kid doing a high school science project, like literally. And there's no peer-reviewed scientific studies that prove that it works. It just sounds good. It sounds like it works when you think about it, but there's no evidence that backs it up. Like, there's no evidence. So that's the thing. The other thing I wanted to bring up here. Um, this is from 222 minutes, which is a parody count of 22 minutes, which is kind of a parody account in and of itself, because there's supposed to be a comedy, TV show, whatever they're trying to be. But the reality is that they're not funny whatsoever. Like, they're not funny whatsoever. They're basically just like stupid liberal satire that doesn't even really make sense. And they say Trudeau crime minister is now trending, at least until Stephen Harper sues over infringement of his brand. Again, um, how many ethics violations did Stephen Harper have? I mean, I honestly don't know off the top of my head, but I know it's not as many as Justin Trudeau. Um, and Stephen Harper wasn't as universally hated by the other side as Justin Trudeau is. This is the problem with politics nowadays, is because stuff is so polarized. I mean, Justin Trudeau is very, and this thing too about the whole Trudeau, the anti leftist hashtag. You know that it is organically trending, because we know that Twitter is biased against conservatives. They're openly biased about it. Project Veritas has caught them multiple times admitting to being biased. So again, they're openly biased against conservatives, which means if a anti-leftist hashtag is trending, you know that a lot of people are talking about it. And that's the thing too, that whenever one of these hashtags trends, it seems like, later in the day or the next day, there's always a I stand with Trudeau, or I stand with Morneau was trending the other day. And it's the same thing every time, and it's the same amount of people every time. And we know it's, I mean, I would bet money that it's propped up. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would bet money, because it's always the same thing and it's always the same amount of people. So again, it's just annoying. And the last thing I wanted to talk about here is from Scott Adams, and he says, the longer Trump is president, the funnier it is to ask his critics for one of the strongest example of something he did wrong on the job. Example answer, well, his mean tweets. And the thing, again, this is the thing with Trump, is that when he was first running, I mean, I don't think the reasons were legitimate, but they were more legitimate than they are now. That, oh, he's gonna cause World War III, and there was Russia collusion, and he's gonna destroy the economy. And the problem is, not only have those things proven to have been false, he's more anti-war than Obama and Bush. He's done a better job of the economy than Obama and Bush, even though he hasn't done a great job. Again, so all the paranoia when it came to Trump has been proven to be completely untrue. If anything, the opposite's been true. And now that people have finally recognized that, they've retreated to this whole, just making stuff up and just mumbling and bumbling and stumbling. It's just insane. And again, I'm not the hugest fan of Trump, but I do think that he's at least, I mean, he's definitely better than Justin Trudeau. He's definitely better than the sheer conservatives. I think he would be better than um, most conservatives. And again, he's good enough that I would vote for him, for the simple reason too that he's big on free speech. He's anti-communist. He's pro-gun, at least mostly. And he's anti-mass immigration. I mean, and not to mention too, he's not big on a carbon tax or any of that garbage. I mean, the libertarians will point out, oh, he's not actually, that much of a, he's not actually a true conservative, which they're right about. But again, the alternative is socialism, and we're at the point to where I don't really care anymore. I just don't want socialism. Now, again, if we're going to get soft socialism like what we would have had under Andrew Scheer, I'm not for that either. That's not enough to get me to vote for him. But if we can get someone like a Sloan in there, I think Sloan would be enough, assuming he doesn't pander to the left in a general. Um, Definitely not McKay. Um, I do have my doubts about Aaron O'Toole, and I do have my doubts about Lewis. But again, you'd have to wait until a general election to know for sure, because you don't know what people's views are really until you hit a general election. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you liked the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my PayPal and email. I got linked in the description. Again, I appreciate any donations, but at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe. And also make sure you check me out on Twitter, BitChute, and Parlay. All those links are in the description as well, so you can find them all there.